Can I ask you first about your comments about Gary Bettman's remarks yesterday about Calgary's arena situation?
Sadly, I was busy preparing my council meeting and I did not watch them.
Can we read out what he said and you can respond?
If you really want to.
He just chimed in on saying the renewed need for a new arena and how the Flames organization has given up.
Is there anything new in what he said?
I believe the IOC says we don't need a new arena.
Is there anything new in what Mr. Bettman said?
He said that the IOC thinks, well, he didn't say anything about what the IOC said, but he thought that maybe not having a new arena might hurt.
It's always fun
Calgary's
when Mr. Bettman chimes in on this. Nothing has changed.
Can I ask you about the city's 10-year plan to end homelessness?
You sure
We've
can.
hit the 10-year mark. What are your thoughts about missing the target?
It was always a really aspirational and very ambitious target. And let's remember that we really have turned the curve on homelessness. When that program started, homelessness was increasing by double-digit percentages every year. If the economy was good, homelessness increased. If the economy was bad, homelessness increased. And now we have fewer homeless people now than we did in 2008, despite a huge increase to our population. If that curve had continued without the 10-year plan, we likely would have something like 9,000 homeless people today rather than 3,000. That said, it also highlights the need for us to continue to invest in affordable housing, to continue to invest in places for folks to go. And that really has to be what we focus on now as we move into year 11 and beyond.
On the FCM issue,
Yes.
a lot of councillors seem upset that this motion is even coming forward. Why do they have their backs up to it?
You know, I think it's a shame that over the last few days on a couple of different items, some members of council have thought that, naming and shaming their fellow councillors is a good way to get stuff done. Generally, it is not. We are living in a nonpartisan environment here. We have to work with one another. Every member of council is bound by a code of conduct that talks about treating one another with respect and dignity, which may not be how politicians are used to treating one another. And so I think that's really what you see here. On the Federation of Canadian Municipalities one, for example, there is a committee that makes these decisions. And this was never taken to that committee. It was taken directly to council and out in public first. So I think that's what you get some members of council's backs up on, And it's important that we get the process right as well as the actual content of what we're trying to do right.
So are you suggesting this is a partisan politics in non-partisan kind of issue, or is it a matter of two newbies that don't know what they're doing?
A bit of both. I will say that I was surprised to see in the newspaper, I read the newspaper, which I probably shouldn't do on the weekend when I'm trying to be chill, but I was surprised to see in the newspaper a member of council directly going after other members of council and suggesting they're not doing their jobs. That's just not good.
What's the value of all 14 members going this year?
I am going to listen to the debate on this one. I'm actually pretty agnostic on this particular item. I really believe that it is good for councillors to go and learn more about how different cities are dealing with different problems. Certainly, I know that one very effective member of council today, when he was first elected, actually had never been in a city larger than Calgary. And so it's important for them to learn at these things. That said, is 4 of them enough? It may well be. I would encourage the new members of council, however, in particular, even if this passes, to put their names forward. They're the ones who I think would benefit the most from it.
What are your thoughts on term limits for that's going to be coming forward today for councillors?
It's an absolutely terrible idea. The incumbent advantage does not come from term limits. The incumbent advantage comes from money. The real way to ensure democracy is real, meaningful campaign finance reform. And it's interesting that the members bringing this forward have consistently voted against campaign finance reform. It's interesting that one of the members bringing this forward is doing a $200 a plate fundraiser at like the first moment it's allowed in March in the next campaign cycle. Something that a competitor could never ever do. So you want to be serious about ending the competitive advantage? Take away your advantages. And that means take away your ability to raise money that challengers don't have.
So what would be the big advantage that you would like to see eliminated specifically?
I have not changed on this in 5 years. We need donation limits, we need spending limits, we need time limits on when you raise the money. Because if you're raising money 3 months after an election, are you raising money for the next election, or are you raising money for how you're going to vote in this term? These are really important things. We also need rules around campaign surpluses. I haven't changed on this. We need comprehensive campaign finance reform, and then the need, or the perceived need, for term limit legislation would go away.
And why don't we get it so far?
Well, this city council has consistently refused to actually even change the things that are within our own power. I am very optimistic that this provincial government, 5 premiers later, is actually going to do something about this year.
Sorry, Mayor, I don't know if you've been asked it before, but just on regarding terms, have you decided if you're running again?
What in the world? I was elected 3 months ago. Get back to me in 2021.
So no decision either way. Have you thought about it? Yeah.
One last question.
Can I get you to speak a little bit to Mr. Hare being ousted from cabinet last Thursday?
I really can't. Mr. Hare has said that he welcomes the investigation, and I suppose all of his constituents do as well.
Thanks,
But are
folks.
you
We're going to get
concerned
to
about Calgary losing its voice at the federal cabinet table?
I am certain that whichever government we have, whatever stripe it is, they will understand that Calgary is the 3rd largest city in Canada, requires not just a voice, but being heard, and I'm confident that any federal government would hear us. Thank you.
everybody.